I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to parenting, I get a little bit confused by all these different parenting terms that are constantly being thrown around. Terms like helicopter, passive, positive, free range, slow plow, dolphin, elephant and tiger, or even narcissistic. It literally makes my brain melt. I mean, it seems like many parents feel the need to be, or in many cases not to be, a certain type of parent. We're all just trying to figure out this parenting thing. We're doing our very best to be the best parents that we can possibly be, and the reality of the thing is that sometimes we falter. But our parenting style directly influences our child's way of dealing with their future relationships, friendships, and their approach to life. Things like their values, beliefs, and also their future mental health. In the past, we didn't have all this research at our fingertips as to the best way to parent, and now some of us can get a little bit obsessed by trying to parent the right way. Sometimes that can end up sending us in the wrong direction. So let's take a look at some of the research. Back in the 60s, then Baumrind, a clinical psychologist, categorized parents into one of the three categories: authoritarian, permissive, and authoritative. Neglectful parenting was added later on as the fourth style. This research is still holding its own today, although many people have expanded on it and also refuted it because of its rigid adherence to certain styles. Another thing is that times have changed since 60s as we've become more focused on recognizing a child's individual needs and addressing them, as opposed to just dealing with their behavior without actually looking at the underlying causes for it. Saying that though, most of today's parenting styles will still come under these umbrella terms, at least to some degree, and sometimes a little in between, as many parents tend to adapt their styles at the moment to the situation and the child. So the authoritarian style is a parenting style that is more harsh, rigid, and demanding. Authoritarian parents tend to tell their kids what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It's categorized by high levels of control over the children with rules and punishments. Think of it like it's my way or the highway, that sort of style. Authoritarian parenting values high obedience and is very demanding of a child. Strict discipline will more than likely lead to a child being more obedient, compliant, and easier to control. It also has the highest academic outcomes of all of these parenting styles. Is it good for the child in the long term though? Studies have shown that children raised this way tend to suffer from low self-esteem, low self-worth, and they struggle with shame and guilt and tend to have mental health issues like depression later on down the line in their life. This stems from the feeling of inadequacy and from the feeling like they're not worth of love unless they try to be perfect. Love is conditional on their behavior and their achievements. They also struggle with making decisions for themselves, as they've always had their authoritarian parents to do so for them. However, strict parental rules and punishments often mean that as they grow older, they may rebel against authority. After all, using force can often result in resistance. That's our human nature. On the flip side, in permissive parenting, this parent will give in to the child's demands and rarely enforce any kind of rules. Kids who we tend to call spoiled normally come from families where parents engage in this kind of parenting. Permissive parents tend to be very loving and responsive to the needs of their children, but they have low expectations of them too, whether that's behaviorally or academically. They allow the child to make their own decisions. They'll rarely set rules or make them do chores, and generally don't monitor their behavior. Many experts believe this style is to be the worst way to raise children, bar none, even over uninvolved. Children raised in this way have very little self-control. They may be more prone to aggression, they may find it hard to regulate their emotions and show emotional intelligence. Studies have shown that they perform worse academically and have few organizational and decision-making skills as a result. Worst of all, they are way more prone to substance abuse during their adolescence. They're also more likely to be selfish and behave in an entitled manner. Now, Baumrind preferred the next style of parenting, authoritative parenting. Parents who favor this way will still place high demands on their children, but with a lot more warmth. They will respond to the child's needs without being overly indulgent or permissive. They set clear limitations and boundaries, but they are not rigid in their approach and are way more willing to be more flexible. This is for sure the most balanced of these parenting techniques because it tempers the child's needs for guidance, support, respect, and love with the need for rules to ensure that the child knows what is expected of them. Children raised by authoritative parents tend to be more confident, independent, self-disciplined, and socially adept and responsible. As adults, they will suffer fewer mental health problems as they find it easier to regulate their emotional well-being and they have a lot higher self-esteem. Now, studies have shown that children raised this way tend to perform quite well academically as well. So that is the plus side. Now, the fourth one is the neglectful, or better put, uninvolved. Children of uninvolved parents tend to be left to their own devices a lot of time. They have very little in the way of rules for them to follow, and their parents don't take any active interest in them, offering little in the way of support or guidance. Quite often, these parents have their own mental health issues to deal with. Uninvolved parents aren't just those not present physically in their child's life, or those who are abusive. They can also be parents who pay them literally no attention at all. These parents may see to their child's physical needs, but they neglect to be engaged with their child on an emotional level. They rarely give praise or love, rarely impose any kind of rule, and generally leave child to figure out things for themselves. Many parents these days are guilty of this without actually realizing it. Social media, TV, and internet play a huge part in distracting parents from their children's lives. It can also be parents who are distracted by their needs, like their need to work, which can mean that they don't have as much energy to engage with their child on anything other than basic needs level. Children raised by uninvolved parents do tend to be more resilient and self-reliant, as they've had to be from an early age, but that has come from necessity, not from nurturing those traits. And on the flip side, it has also been shown that children from these sort of homes often perform poorly socially and academically. They also may act out during adolescence and be more prone to substance abuse. And they may suffer from anxiety, mental health problems, and an inability to form strong emotional attachments or bond with other people. What type of parent are you? None of us will neatly fit into one style or the other. Most parents tend to adapt depending on the situation. But if you look at each of these parenting styles individually, you may see that overall you adhere to a certain type of parenting strategy. So despite the fact that you think that you don't fit strictly into one, most of your parenting style will fit into one of these. We all parent differently, with no two parents being alike, just like no two children are alike. And often you'll see two different parenting approaches from the family. This can cause problems. So maybe sharing this video with your partner might actually help you in getting both of you on the same page. You have to show a united front. If you're not happy with the way that you parent, or you think that maybe you should change your style so that you can develop a healthier relationship with your child and improve their long-term outcomes, then think about adopting a more balanced and moderate approach. For example, if you feel you're more authoritarian or neglectful, then maybe you can start by showing more love and respect towards your children. The thing is that these styles, these parenting types that we have looked at are all extremes. The fact is that parenting styles are on a spectrum, like many other things in life. Figuring out what side of the spectrum that you are on compared to what side you'd like to be on is the key to actually figure out how to go about and changing and adopting new ways. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and maybe you have discovered something about yourself or something new. Or maybe you could tell us a little bit about your own upbringing and the effects that it had on you as an adult. Either way, drop us a comment below and hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and press that bell so that you get notified of any future content. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.